Welcome to Flowcast. I'm your host, Sister Beth Murphy. Today, I'm pleased to introduce you to our guests who may not be new to you. Sister Mary Paul McCaughey, who is the Prioress General of our congregation, and Sister Mila Diaz Solano, who has made numerous appearances on Flowcast. Sister Mila is the Associate Director of the Romero Scholars Program at Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, teaching scriptures to Latino, Latina, and Latin American theology students who are pursuing a Master of Arts in ministry. Welcome to you both.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks, Beth.
It's a pleasure to be again with this group. Thank you.
Last spring, Sister Mary Paul and Sister Mila were present in Rome during a seminal moment for the global church. The election of a pope from Chicago with Peruvian citizenship. It was an exciting moment for every Springfield Dominican sister, whichever continent we call home, North or South America. If anything about the time could have been more exciting, it's this: the reason they were both in Rome. Sister Mary Paul participated in the General Assembly of UISG, the International Union of Superiors General. She was later joined by Sister Mila at the Dominican Sisters International Confederation gathering. Both of these meetings, held back to back every 3 years, focus on the global nature of religious life. So we're talking with Sister Mary Paul and Sister Mila today to hear about the energy and the hope for religious life that they mined from their time at these forward-looking global gatherings of Catholic sisters. So let's just dig in, sisters. What I'd like to hear from each of you first is tell us a little bit about the meetings and set the stage for us, if you would. What was the agenda for the meetings before Pope Leo arrived on the scene? Mary Paul, maybe you could start.
Sure, I'll start because our meeting was first and headed it up. It was amazing. There were 900 women from all across the globe, each one of them heading up their congregations, some very large, some very small religious congregations, but all of them with a passion for leadership and a love for their sisters. And the agenda that they formed was truly global in nature, with speakers on issues of justice, canon law, and community life from across the globe, and updates from every continent and what those sisters were working on there. This meeting only happens once every 3 years, so there was a lot of business and a lot to happen. I'll hold off on how it got interrupted, so that Mila gets a chance to put a context in for the Dominican Sisters Conference or Confederation. All I can say is just throw a newbie into a room with 900 nuns who are trying to discern and use the process that Pope Francis had asked folks to use for synodality was really a powerful experience with these women.
Mila, what do you want to add?
Well, the Dominican Sisters International Confederation meeting is usually for leaders. I participated this time as representative of the younger generations from North America. In June of 2024, younger members from 5 continents gathered together in Caleruega, and we had a time for discernment, prayer, and also to envision or dream together for the future. As a result of that gathering, all of us were involved in composing a manifesto. And that was the reason we were chosen, one from each continent, to explain what we have been written in the manifesto. So the manifesto had 3 points: our desire for intercongregational initial formation experiences, our desire for intercontinental or intercongregational house of studies during the formal studies, and also to have a promoter of life and mission to continue the connection among younger members, but not only younger members, but all the sisters worldwide. So there were five of us, one from Europe, another from Asia Pacific, from another sister from Africa, another sister from South America, and I represented North America.
And I need to say that Mila was a rock star. Everybody knew her. So it was, and everybody on all continents seemed to know her. So it was really an honor to be there with Sister Mila. And just was an adventure in interculturality, because for most of us in English speaking nations, we go manifesto. We think of a communist manifesto or a demand or, something. But it really just made to make clear. So they were trying to manifest basically what the sisters had discovered in dialogue with one another, especially younger sisters. And so as this manifesto unfolded, it was seen to be very reasonable. And then, like administrators anywhere, it was left to the leaders to decide, how are you going to respond to this? Are you going to give it the resources in terms of people, in terms of money, in terms of time that it's going to need to really fulfill some of those dreams? And I most appreciated the opportunity to share with so many of the sisters who had been called Rega, especially those that I could almost communicate with from Europe, who were there and really shared with us their situation. Every continent is different, and I think I appreciate that from Sister Mila. So the fact that they were able to agree on what they wanted, and that the leaders themselves were able to assent to that, and then meet themselves by those continents to see how they would respond, for me was a very powerful collegial moment, because this group too does not meet every year. I mean, this is a big time to get over there, get to Rome, and get that many people together for a week. So I was very blessed to be able to experience that.
How exciting for both of you that you were in Rome at that moment for Pope Leo's election.
I know I might have lost the timeline a little bit on the Dominican meeting. I think that you were coming to the close of the UISG meeting the day he was elected. Is that correct, Mary Paul?
It was our second to the last day. The next day we would have met with Pope Francis, and of course he died the week before. We were supposed to meet with Francis on Friday, and wouldn't you know, Leo gets elected Thursday afternoon, right after communion. We had already had communion, and the poor bishop that was saying the Mass kind of got interrupted. Somebody ran up to him, and though they turned all the TVs on, and we got to see white smoke in all different languages, and people stood up, danced. They didn't know who the Pope was. It wasn't announced at that time, but it was the joy of the church in the Holy Spirit's action in choosing a leader. I just couldn't help myself. I got out the iPhone and took pictures of all these crazy people just basically dancing, swaying, saying, Holy Spirit, come. Veni Creator Spiritu. It was very powerful.
Well, yes, you did, Mary Paul, and we actually featured that video that you shot in a little video we put together for our own social media the day of the election. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes, and if people want to see that, they can find it there.
It's poorly done because I was dancing too, so there you go. So.
I don't know. I think it was pretty good, actually. It looked very real. Now, Mila, where was your arrival in Rome in this whole timeline? What happened for you?
Well, the meeting of the Dominican sisters started on Monday after the first Sunday of the first blessing of Pope Leo. So I arrived on Saturday, of course, to go to St. Peter's Square on Sunday. Many of us Dominicans were there, and the place was just a space of celebration and joy. That day was the celebration of the Jubilee of Artists. Because we are in the year of Jubilee, there are several days that are especially oriented or for a celebration with a special group. So this day we had bands, dancers, and different groups of Italy and from other countries who came to be blessed as artists, no, and so St. Peter's Square was just a festivity of countries, cultures, colors, and everybody was so joyful when we received the blessing from Pope Leo and the greeting for the mothers, no, the recognition of mothers, because it was also, I think, Mother's Day.
Right.
So
Yes.
it was, there were so many celebrations together. So it was really a pure joy. And I found many Peruvians, they were so proud to be part of the celebration. I think nowhere in the world the Peruvian flag was more present and joyful.
And of course, the Americans all had their jaws wide open because no one could believe it. All of us had said, well, if whoever it's going to be will have to be kind of an American. And I was just coming out of this UISG experience where we were basically saying we're sorry on behalf of so many of the things that have happened, and that kind of contrast to suddenly have a pope from the United States, and especially from Chicago, where my dad probably had served him a burger when he was a seminarian, if my sister's to be believed, was just very grounding. Just the whole idea that the Spirit can work in this church in such marvelous ways through the lives of very ordinary but very gifted people.
Not too long ago, I participated in a conversation with Cardinal Timothy Radcliffe, our Dominican brother. And what you just said, Mary Paul, is what he echoed. He had just been made a cardinal in the last consistory and never expected in his life to be among those electing the new pope. But he said that the Holy Spirit was truly, truly at work in that conclave, and that he couldn't say more than that than other to recognize how powerfully the Spirit was moving in the church. And I don't doubt that the Holy Spirit was moving as powerfully in the meetings that you two were there to represent us at. So let's turn again, if we could, to the meetings that you attended. Is there something that you are still thinking about now, several months since your return to the United States? What's still sticking in your mind about what you experienced in Rome? Mila, do you want to start?
I can start. I think two words are still in my mind: greater collaboration and experience of synodality. As Dominicans, we do a lot together. No, we collaborate already. We have a common voice for justice at the United Nations. We collaborate continentally for justice, peace, and integrity of creation through our different committees and representatives. And we have also developed some space for formation of in leadership for younger sisters. But at this meeting, it was more powerful, the voices that we were hearing. We want to go further. We want to go deeper. We want to do more. And so having that kind of connection as representatives of our promoters of life and mission, that was one of the ways to keep the connection going among younger generations and among leaders and among all the membership of the Dominican Sisters. And also the experience of the conversations. No, the conversations by continents, the conversations by ages, conversations by languages. There were different levels of participation and inside of the meetings, and also in a very spontaneous ways, no, the collaboration or the desire to keep more connection outside of the meetings. I think those two experiences for me are still in my heart and in my mind.
And I would
Could I,
agree, Mila. Oh, go ahead.
well, I was just going to ask Mila, what do you think the impact of the synodal conversations will be on the order? Are we moving in the right direction in that regard, do you think?
I think as an order, we always have been blessed with from our beginning with some practices, no, that really allows us to greater participation. But I think with the Synod of Synodality, we have been more intentionally in rediscovering our roots and giving the name of what we already do. No? And I think as sisters, especially, we have grown a lot and we have contributed that to our church.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Now, Sister Mary Paul, it's your turn. What are you still thinking about?
Well, I'll tell you, it is the conversations. Exactly, first, exactly what Mila said. When you turned around and you saw booths of translations for 16 simultaneous languages, and to figure out we're making this work. We're making this work. We are having women talk about serious times in our church, in our world, and we are making it work with one another with love and grace. That was probably one of the most powerful things. But of course, the content was actually generated by the speakers, and I have just two moments from that. And one is Sister Simona, who is now the highest, who was at the time and remains even higher ranking woman at the Vatican, the highest ranking woman in the church, head of a dicastery. And her powerful talk about what it meant to be a consecrated religious, as a woman in service, and as a woman who was whole, and a woman who was mother to the earth and to people, was incredibly powerful, and I think was a wonderful way to start it. Then I think her words were given flesh by another speaker that gave a sample, an example from Indonesia, where it was clearly a young Dominican sister who had knelt outside a grade school, kneeling with her arms up in surrender in front of armed guards, saying, "Kill me, don't kill my children." And that that story of saying this is how you take what it means to be a mother, to be a consecrated woman, to be someone who has to be in life for others, or we're not authentic. Who'd want to join us if you really aren't transparently showing that love of Jesus? And that one image of that young nun holding her arms out, and the soldiers, of course, went away, shouldered their arms and went away. The power of love in it may not be instant, and she took the risk of being killed. But I think that kind of example from across the globe is what's so powerful about these international gatherings, to realize we're more than just our United States. We really do need to look and think and be partners with our world.
It seems that we women religious in the U.S. could learn a lot from our sisters around the world, and that story is a true example of that. How do our lives bear witness to the gospel?
And that's the fundamental question, isn't it, Beth? And I know that's what Mila is even working with even all the people you work with. That's the question. How are you Christ for everybody you meet? And I think that to leave a huge meeting like that, both with our Dominicans from across the world and those of other congregations, to leave with this sense of humility, that you're not doing this by yourself. You're a part of something that's much bigger than who you are. Um, uh, that whatever you do, so however small, matters. And to be able to come home and say to our sisters, what you do, how you love, how you serve, how you treat other people, my gosh, that matters. It matters even in the big scheme of things. I don't know, Mila, what do you think? Am I nuts?
No, how can I say that? No,
I don't. It's okay.
Don't
no,
you don't
but
have to answer that.
um,
And
I agree with you. No, that the international gathering, um, brings about that awareness that wherever little we do in our corner, really we are doing this as a worldwide order, no, and impacts our own area, but also it contributes to the global well-being, because every one of us, wherever we live, we are trying to respond, and we are here for the sake of the mission of Jesus. And so, if we are driven by that force, uh, we are really going to be prophetic, and we are doing our best for loving and serving others in whatever way and wherever capacity we are.
Yes, and none of it was perfect. Some of it was darn boring.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you'd love to say that every moment was exciting and every speaker was exciting, but real life isn't that way, and learning to accept some of the bumps in the road, I think is a piece of it too. And to learn how to, empty yourself in some patience is a good move.
You know what I'm reminded of as I'm listening to the two of you? You are the first episode of season 5 for Flowcast. We have an artificial date, so once we hit August, we start a new season. So congratulations, welcome to season 5. But
Yippee.
the last 2 episodes of season 4 had a through line that I never expected. The second to last one was my conversation with Father Jean-Jacques Perennis, who's a friend of mine from my days of traveling back and forth to Iraq. And then the next one was Sister Rose Miriam Schulte spoke with 4 of the oblate student brothers that she had accompanied during their novitiate. And the through line for me in both of those conversations was at the foundation of our attempts to live prophetic gospel living is friendship. John Jacques brought that home very deeply because that was the charism or the gift of the long deceased, now Dominican friar that we were actually talking about, George Anawati. And then that pulled through among those men who were attempting to live mission interculturally from 3 different countries. That if there's not friendship at the foundation of their lives, then those bigger movements can't happen.
Oh, it's all about relationships, isn't it? I mean, we
Yes.
talk about interculturality, but what that really is honoring the dignity of every human person, entering their world with awe, knowing that they are God, right? That the Spirit is within each one of us, and so that type of love and respect, to your point, that type of friendship, it becomes friendship if you're lucky, but at least needs to start with respect and relationship.
And I think that's one of the things that gives me hope. At my table, during the meeting, we were all young representatives from different continents. We all spoke different languages, no, but we were able to communicate with one another, translating from French into English, from French into Spanish, from English to wherever language whoever was at the table. And the sense that we, in our diversity, in our different challenges that we have as sisters, in our different way of living the charism, we feel that we are one, no? That we are family, that we are sisters, and the bonds that we have created from the encounter in Calerwega is. It was like we were finding our real sisters again, and they are our sisters, but is a new relationship awareness that we have every time we gather, that we are one, even though we have our diversities.
And it takes time, doesn't it? I had a wonderful visit with a young German sister who was a physician, was a doctor, and her family thought she was absolutely insane to become a religious. And she was talking about her struggle, and she was brilliant. She was trilingual, really, so we could work it out in French and English, but amazing. And I think to your point, you don't take the time to develop those relationships or those friendships unless you're kind of locked up together. I'm the kind of thing that, oh, I really don't want to spend this kind of time. I don't want to be away that long. But really, in order to have relationships, you don't have to mess around with one another. You do have to have some time.
Sure. I am so enjoying this conversation. You have engaged me and engrossed me totally. But I don't want to forget our audience. And I'd like us to maybe look at the question of how can we, as well as the associates of our congregation and our friends, be transformed by this experience that the two of you have? What do you anticipate? How do you see this spilling over into the lives of all those who are associated with us as Springfield Dominicans? What can they anticipate?
I will say that even if we are associates of the Dominican Sisters of Springfield, in Springfield, we have family in Ukraine, we have family in Nicaragua, we have family in Peru, in South Sudan, in Congo. We are bigger than where we live, no? And that's important to be aware, to pray with all that is happening in our world with that mindset that is not them, but is my family. This is our family, that we are brothers and sisters. And these brothers and sisters can also be as very near as my own neighborhood, and maybe I am not aware or I'm not open enough to wide my circle of friendship, my relationship. So I think this awareness that we are family is important.
I
Thank
think
you, Mila.
that's
That's
exactly right.
powerful.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mary Paul. What would
Well,
you add?
well, I would just add this, that I think those of us, those who know us, know we are trying to align our lives a little bit to a direction statement, kind of to a mandate that leadership got from chapter. And it mentions a future of promise and hope. And so that requires Dominican truth, Dominican joy, Dominican conversation, requires friendship. So I hope it won't necessarily be something new, but rather the gift of the blending of old and new, that we can remain wonderful, we remain teachers and administrators and friends and family members and community participants and fellow board members. We don't have to go too far outside ourselves to be able to extend ourselves more, to Mila's earlier point. We have to deepen this. We have to show people that we love and care for them. And I think that expands then into our mission for the world and a passion, um, really, to be Christ for others.
Mhm. I'm thinking a lot about the binational character of our community. We are North Americans and we are South Americans, Peruvians in our congregation. And this month, just before this program will air, we are welcoming to the novitiate Hermana Inez, a Peruvian national from the villages around Harpa in the mountains, who was herself inspired to join us Dominican Sisters of Springfield because of the witness of, for the most part, Sisters Ellie and Edith, who have been ministering to her family in Harpa for most of the last 25 years, if not all of them. How will we in North America be shaped by this reality that we are welcoming for the first time in a long time a woman who is saying yes to Dominican consecrated life and who is coming from Peru?
That's a profound question. And I think we're going to have to answer it together. This is not an easy question because we've had to navigate things, even planning the reception ceremony to try to have both languages and to do it simultaneously and to be present to one another has been a challenge. It was easier when we had our own sisters in Peru. We had an easy link and we had some English speakers, and it was great. And we're hoping a couple of our gals are going to return to Peru who still have missionary hearts. But it's the Peruvian sisters themselves who are leading this process, who will be the formators, the novice mistresses for Inez. And she is precious. And Sister Kathleen McCaughey, a member of our council, baptized Inez. So it comes full circle, doesn't it? Life comes full circle, and all vocation is always a gift. And we have to let each member of our congregation on both continents reshape us every day, not just when they come.
And I will start with the last point of Mary Paul. No, she's a gift. She's bringing with her person, with her entrance, a gift to our congregation. And it's a different gift for many of us in Peru as well, because her culture is different than several of us who were born in the city and grew up in a city. So the perspective that she brings, the way of worshiping God that she brings, has to be embraced, valued, and expressed in a new community. It has to become a new way of worshiping. It has to be the community renew their way of doing things because of the gift of her life. And I think it's also giving us here in United States the opportunity to continue the journey, to learn about many cultures, know the cultures that surround us, our coworkers, our friends, our neighbors, to enlarge our tent, no, and to be aware that each person brings with them a whole world, no, and each relationship really has to renew and surprise us in many ways.
That is so beautifully said, Mila. I appreciate it. And, I'm sorry we do not have more time to talk together. This has truly been a hopeful and energizing conversation. For our listeners who would like a deeper dive, there are links to resources we discussed today at flowcastlisten.org. To make sure that you never miss an episode, you can subscribe to Flowcast at that website too, and receive each monthly episode in your inbox. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us. A big thanks to Sister Mary Paul and Sister Mila, and to my Flowcast colleagues, our marketing guru Jean Ann Miller and sound engineer Brandon Durham. I'm Sister Beth Murphy. Until next time, remember that the Flow in Flowcast is an acronym for the life of the world. It's a reminder to all of us that we are called to imitate Jesus in giving our lives for the life of the world. God bless.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.